Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Wanted to give myself 24 hours before having this conversation about this USC program in Lincoln Riley, but it's about time we open it up. I got a lot of thoughts here, and they're not total like thoughts together. It's just thoughts on what you've seen from this USC team, and quite frankly, the question marks that I have for this USC program and Lincoln Riley heading into the future as they move into the Big Ten. Before we get into it, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. And again, I don't have a total conclusion on my thoughts. I have thoughts, though. I would love to hear yours. Like, the best part about doing this is chopping it up and getting a feel for the fan bases and how you guys are feeling about Lincoln Riley and his time at USC. So let me know in the comment section how you guys are feeling. And of course, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support y'all have shown. And let's get into it. This is a team that I had extremely high expectations for. USC fans know this. We talked a ton on the recruiting trail, a ton of what they did in the transfer portal. You looked at this team. They got better on defense from a talent perspective. They had a loaded offense. The expectations were a national title. And my frustrations lie with Lincoln Riley is an elite quarterback evaluator. He's an elite quarterback developer, and he's a really good offensive mind. Right? No one's going to get up here and critique what Lincoln. He has a phenomenal track record in terms of developing quarterbacks and putting out good offenses, going back to his time in Oklahoma. My problem is that is not the only responsibility you have as a head coach of a major college football program like the USC Trojans. And for him to, I guess we'd start with the excuses are running out, right? Last year, a frustrating season, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but there were some excuses that were somewhat valid, right? This was our first year at USC. The offense was cranking. The defense had a lot of transfers, a lot of new faces. They didn't quite come together. That made sense, right? And they go out and get better and get more talent in the transfer portal. And this defense, from a talent standpoint, much, much improved heading into the 2023 year. And I was okay to accept those excuses last year. You guys knew that. This year, not so much. And especially when you look at a team that is not taking any steps forward, they're in fact taking steps backwards on both sides of the football. For me, the excuses for Lincoln Riley are running out a little bit. And what's most frustrating is he gets up in the press conference, doesn't allow his players to talk, which I mean, if you're a captain of the football team, I think you should be able to answer questions that the media has for you. And I know the media is very frustrated with that. But second of all, Lincoln Riley gets up there and says, I don't know where these national title expectations came from. We have to be patient. Being patient would play a lot better if this team was showing some sort of progression from last year. But you haven't seen any. In fact, the offense and Caleb Williams, they've taken a step back dramatically on the offensive side of the ball. And the defense, although I still think they're more talented defensively, they didn't take any steps forward. I'll say that. I mean, you saw that game against Utah. This is a Utah team that, no disrespect, you guys know the respect I have for Kyle Whittingham in this Utah program. Bryson Barnes in this Utah offense could not move the football against anyone for the first half of the season. They were winning games because of their defense. They go up and score 34 points, run for over 200 yards. Bryson Barnes almost outthrows Caleb Williams. This defense, to give up 34 points to Utah, especially a game-winning drive at the end where they had to throw the football and you have a third-string quarterback in there, in my mind, it's unacceptable. And so you get into what you've seen from this USC team on the football field on offense. And again, do I want to sit up here and be critical of Lincoln Riley and how he runs an offense and how he calls an offense? A little bit, because I have some concerns, but he's a guy that he's done a really good job, right? Everywhere he's gone, he's had really good offenses. But when you look at this offense and what it's looked like the last couple of weeks, it looks lost, it looks chunky, and it doesn't have an identity. Starting with the run game. Like, this is a run game that is good. It was working against Utah, and they just didn't go back to it, right? Marshall and what I get fumbled. That doesn't mean you stop running the football. They were running the football for over 6 yards per carry. What they were doing was working in the second half, pretty much completely stopped running the football. Secondly, the offense is so reliant on Caleb Williams just being the best quarterback in the country, playing backyard football. Same conversation we had 7 days ago. How many times during that game did you see, that was a really schemed up play where a wide receiver created separation. It was a nicely designed play and it worked. Not often. Like, a lot of the production from this USC offense is Caleb Williams playing backyard football, and it worked last year, worked extremely well. This year, it has not been working, and relying on just backyard football, off-script plays on offense is not a good recipe for winning these big games against really quality defenses and big-time opponents. And then thirdly, I mean, you talk about having arguably the most explosive player in college football in Zachariah Branch. And on offense, he touched the ball 2 times. He had 1 carry and 1 catch. And to me, offense at the college football level is not that difficult. Get the football to your playmakers in space and let them go make plays. Zachariah Branch catching the ball 2 times is, in my mind, absolutely inexcusable. And then you go to the defense, and a lot of the USC fans want to get frustrated with Alex Grinch still being there. I'm frustrated too, right? The defense has not been nearly good enough. Who does Alex Grinch's presence fall on? Like, going back to what is the job of a head coach is to make personnel decisions, make the right hires. It's not just developing a good offense. Alex Grinch still being there, in my mind, and I get Lincoln Riley and him are good friends. That doesn't mean you should cost this program a chance to win a national title because you refuse to make a move with your defensive coordinator, who has proven that he has not been that good of a defensive coordinator, right? Even going back to his time at Oklahoma, those Oklahoma defenses had a ton of talent. And I don't think they ever really played up to their talent when Alex Grinch was calling that defense. And the fact that he's still here, it to me is mind-boggling. And you look at how the defense is managed, the talent's better. I think everyone can see that. It's a bigger, faster, stronger defense. Guys are being put in bad situations, and quite frankly, development is not there. But you take a look at some of the talent, and this is just off the top of my head. Kalen Bullock probably going to be a top 100 pick in the NFL draft. Mason Cobb, starting middle linebacker, was a first-team All-Big 12 guy last year. So the problem is not Mason Cobb playing. I feel like the problem is a little bit more on what's he doing in this defense. Damani Jackson, 5-star guy. Bear Alexander, 5-star guy. They have the talent on the offense. Kyan Barrs was an All Pac-12 guy. Christian Roland Wallace, a transfer from Arizona, All Pac-12 guy. Like, the talent's there on defense. The schematics of the defense, the development of this defense, and the personnel choices of this defense, that's not been there. And getting to that personnel choice, we said it multiple times, and it doesn't take someone with a rocket science degree to look at that defense and say, Bryson Shaw is getting picked on every single rep. And he's a liability out there, and he can't play. Bryson Shaw continues to play. Tacky Curtis, true freshman linebacker, going to be a great linebacker for USC, clearly not ready to play the Power 5 level yet, continues to be the starting linebacker. The opening drive against Utah, they had a true freshman in Braylon Shelby, an edge rusher, being matched up man-to-man coverage with Sione Vaki, the best player on this Utah offense. And Sione Vaki, again, two-way player, this was not a surprise. Vaki did this last week. To have him and then he gets burned for a 50-yard touchdown, to have a true freshman edge rusher schematically being matched up in man-to-man coverage with their best playmaker makes no sense. And again, it does not take a genius to know some of that stuff. And those lack of play calling fundamentals and schematics are so present on the defensive side of the ball. And it goes back to, Alex Grinch, you're frustrated with him, but it goes to Lincoln Riley. Alex Grinch ain't going to fire himself. Well, Lincoln Riley's got to make those tough decisions. Being a head coach, you have a laundry list of really tough decisions to make. And Lincoln Riley hasn't made those decisions. And so you look at Lincoln Riley and the future of this USC team. I still think Lincoln Riley's a pretty good head coach, right? And what he's done with this USC program at times has looked really promising. And I'm not going to get up here and say Lincoln Riley should be fired as the head coach of USC. No. That being said, there needs to be a deep inspection of this USC program and the identity of this program as they move to the Big Ten, because it ain't going to get any easier. And so I don't really know what the future holds. This feels you guys can tell I'm not even like a USC fan. I talk a lot of USC football. You can see how frustrated I am with, you have Caleb Williams, a generational quarterback with a ton of offensive talent, and this is what the product is on the field. It's frustrating. It's puzzling. I think there's a lot of question marks that Lincoln Riley has to do a better job of answering for. We'll see what they do in the offseason. We'll see how USC goes into the big. We'll see how they finish out this season as well, right? Like, there could be some promising things to take away from it. Still a really talented young roster and a lot of different spots. But right now, a lot of questions, more questions than answers right now with Lincoln Riley and this USC program. More importantly, I gave you guys my thoughts, and again, that was kind of a whirlwind of thoughts. Would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. USC fans, Oklahoma fans listening, Let me hear it in the comment section. Would love to hear from you guys. Appreciate y'all rocking with the boys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.